Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So this is the second video that I will be releasing upon this channel, and this one is going to be less community focused like the last one was, and this one is going to be more focused on stuff within TF2 itself. I wanted to talk about maps in this video. More specifically, I wanted to talk about a specific map, and more specifically, it's going to be a map from Scream Fortress / Halloween. October is right around the corner, and with it, we will be getting the new Scream Fortress content drop. You know, the usual case with the cosmetics, the unusual effects, the maps, and the week-long of bitching that people will do online before they go back and wait for the next holiday update so they can rinse and repeat. And before that, most likely before it, hopefully, I'm hoping we don't have to wait until October, we'll also be getting the new MVM update as well. We don't exactly know when that one's coming, but I think a lot of us are speculating this September. We don't know yet, but that's besides the point. But today, I kind of wanted to focus on one aspect of Scream Fortress, and that is this map that I had mentioned before. I wanted to talk about its atmosphere, its design, its history, and just kind of explore it and go around it a bit. So, let's do a little bit of backstory before we get into this. So, as a kid growing up, I've always loved Halloween. Halloween has always been my favorite time of year. More specifically, I really enjoy autumn. Something about the cool air, the bugs being gone, the leaves changing colors and falling. It's just, everything about it is great. I love all things autumn and October. I love pumpkins, I love scarecrows, ghosts, bats, horror movie. I'm a sucker for all of it. You could, like, anything that can just generally get me into the mood for that time of year, I'm always going to be into it. So basically, how this all falls back into TF2 is because I started playing TF2 right around 2011. I was almost instantly hooked to this game. Up until this point, I hadn't really partaken in full multiplayer games yet in my life. Don't get me wrong, I've dabbled, but I was mainly a single-player game player. I played single-player games. I dabbled in things like Roblox, RuneScape. Have any of you ever dabbled in Pirates of the Caribbean Online? Yeah, I played that. But I wasn't really ever there for any of, like, the holiday events. I wasn't there for, like, stuff like that. However, TF2 is probably the first game I ever got to indulge in a full-on holiday update, which was, at that time, Scream Fortress. I was just really starting to get into computer games, and TF2 was always a game I had had my eyes on as I slowly got more and more into this genre. But I could never convince my parents to buy it for me, which, to be fair, it was an M-rated game, and at the time, even at the time it went free to play, I was about 11 years old. But that was all going to change on June 23rd, 2011, when Team Fortress 2 knowingly went free to play. And along with it came out the Uber update, which also, fun fact, day one of the Uber update was when Barn Blitz was released, the payload map, in 2011. So if you didn't feel old, I hope you do now. And yet, on June, I had finally gotten my hands on the game, and like I said before, I was immediately hooked. But more importantly, moving over, later that year, October 27th, 2011, was the release of the third annual Scream Fortress. My first experience with Scream Fortress, and much like TF2 itself, I was immediately hooked. For those unknowing, or maybe those needing a refresher, the Very Scary Halloween Special, or the third annual Scream Fortress, was the year that gave us stuff like Viaduct Event, Monoculus, and Skull Island. And as I said before, I was instantly hooked. The idea that a game that I was already so in love with had something so rooted in a holiday and, like, just time of year that I loved just sucked me in right away, and I've been in love with it ever since, and I look forward to Halloween and Scream Fortress every single year. That being said, what's kind of ironic is the fact that if you asked me, my most nostalgic memory is not for the third annual Scream Fortress. It's for something else, which we'll be getting into. The first map I think of when I think of TF2 or Scream Fortress, is Man Manor is probably the first map I think of when somebody mentions Scream Fortress to me. The second map would probably be Hell Train, and this is with hindsight because we're in 2025. Because that map, well, that map's just insane. Like, I don't even like Capture the Flag all that much because of just, like, how boring I think it can get. But that map is insane and really fun to play on. It's insane they made it, but that's kind of besides the point. We're getting off topic. In my opinion, however, reeling it back in, it's that Man Manor is probably my favorite map in all of TF2, and in my opinion, it is my personal pick for the best Scream Fortress map in TF2. Now, I do understand that that is a bold claim to make. The greatest Team Fortress 2 Halloween map / Scream Fortress map ever, especially with there being maps like Hell Train, Hell Tower, Hassle Castle, Precipice, Los Marutos, Terror, Lava Pit, Dark Mash, and more. And the answer, in my opinion, is yes. Man Manor does the easiest thing for me that most of the maps, while great, don't do, and that's simply be simplistic and also have a healthy fuck ton of nostalgia attached to it, you know, because that's generally what makes these things better for us, is the rose-tinted glasses. But hey, let's get into some of the history of this map, and then we'll dabble into why I love it, its design, the aesthetics, and more. Now, I will note, I will not be covering the entire history of this map, the contest, etc. I will talk on it a little bit, but this is then mainly going to segue into talking about the map. This is mainly because I want to use this moment to mention things like Mountain Lab, the contest, and more importantly, Man Manor. But if you want a full discussion and video on the history of this contest and the other submissions and these two maps itself, I highly suggest checking out LED's video called TF2 Maps Lost to Time. He does a great job going over the entirety of the map making contest, the rules, everything that was laid out, and the history of all of the submissions that were put into the game, and he even rates them even though they're old TF2 maps. It's a really good video. I suggest checking it out. Alright, good. Then let's get into my abridged history of Man Manor and this contest. So, back in July of 2010, on July 14th, TF2Maps.net released an announcement in tandem with a comic announcement from Valve, and this was for the TF2.net mapping contest number 5, with the grand prize of getting your map into the game officially by Valve. So, the rules were simple. This is a solo endeavor. No teams allowed. You cannot have a team of people help you build this map because it would be unfair to those who were working solo. No teams allowed. However, the only exception they were allowing is that if you needed custom textures for whatever you were making and you were unable to do so, you could have an artist help you. Beyond that, nothing else was allowed. Everything had to be made solo. However, the mapping contest itself had no theme. The only rule was you had to take this map without changing the layout and transform it into something more than what it already was, which is a blank slate. You know, besides the rudimentary layout they had put out for the players. And just add on to what was established. Add whatever you want, but keep the layout the same. One of the side notes that I would like to also comment on is I was scrolling through this, I think at this point decade old, I could be wrong, but this well over 15-year-old like announcement for a contest back in 2010, and a lot of the comments on this post were complaining about sniper, sightlines, and asking if this map layout was made by Valve or not, because it felt amateurish. So, if somebody ever asks you, has the TF2 community changed in the past 15 years or more, the simple answer is just no. But, so with that, the deadline was set. September 25th was the time you had to get your map submitted for them to judge it. Be there or be square. And with that, the map files were sent out in masses, and for those wondering, The map files were basically a rudimentary layout of what would later become Mann Manor and Mountain Lab, and it was just a blank layout that they were told to run with without changing the layout itself. Now again, many of these maps that were submitted were great, and we never got to see them added, which I think was a shame, because many good ones got submitted, but, you know, I just don't think Valve wanted to add in too many maps that had the same fundamental layout. But the ones we have all come to know and possibly love, I don't know everybody's opinions, are Mountain Lab and Mann Manor. And the ones that we want to focus on is Mann Manor. Mann Manor was one of the maps submitted in this contest and was basically, I guess, just someone wanting to make a Halloween themed map, because again, this contest had no official theme. So if it wasn't for this person in specific, we might have never gotten my favorite TF2 map, which is Mann Manor. Mann Manor has all of the hallmarks of a perfect TF2 map in my opinion. The theme it was going for is perfectly executed. The large manor with long, windy hallways with jarred doors that are just like as a kid, I always wanted to go through those doors. And of course, I had things like Gary's mod where I would just no-clip and there was nothing back there. But it's still the, like, subtle map creation of jarred doors with lighting behind it that, like, it sends your mind foraying down the, like, what could be down there? You know, the red room and the red spawn with the seat and the arm, like, leaning on it. That stuff is peak map, like, storytelling, without having to be bombastic and in your face. The whispering winds that you would hear outside that sounds like they're saying things, you know, if you're schizophrenic enough, I guess, and the howling in the distance that makes you wonder what kind of monsters could be lurking in the dark woods of this map. Pumpkins jutted about and carved, glowing, along with many of the other innocent decorations, like this was a haunted manor set up for children. These are the things that honestly make me load up this map sometimes in Gary's mod or in TF2 itself, and I just walk around. I sit around, I soak in the atmosphere, and it is my favorite map of all time. And I can honestly say this for a lot of TF2 Halloween maps because I love the atmosphere of many of them, but Mann Manor in particular is just special to me. I think another part of this map's favor for me is outside of the game of TF2 actually, and actually is from another source adjacent game, which many people know is Gmod. Gmod animations / SFM animations have added so much more life and memories to many TF2 maps for many people throughout the years, and for me, Mann Manor is no different. Every year I have a tradition of watching old Gmod animations for, you know, Halloween, like rewatching old scary movies like Halloween. One of the first videos that comes to mind to, you know, when I think of Halloween or Gmod or TF2 is a video called Halloween in the World of TF2 by Delta135Z. This video has been burnt into my brain since the first time I had ever watched it.
I am the Ubermensch! You best keep lying down. No, no, no!
Te hemos sido la llamada.
Cheese, 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 cheese.
Come on! My boy.
And it has become a staple of tradition to just go back and watch it and many others during the year of October. And if you mention TF2 Halloween or Scream Fortress to me, it's one of the first things I think of. Now, side note, I was trying to find this video on YouTube so that I could post the thumbnail in editing and show you and have so I could link it as well. And man, YouTube's searching algorithm just sucks. No matter what I typed in, TF2 Halloween, Gmod animation, Gmod Halloween, I would be getting brain rot suggestions and TikToks and shorts and all these other unrelated Gmod and TF2 videos. It's none of this matters. You're not the thing I'm looking for. I hate YouTube sometimes, but off of that, however, let's reel it back in and go back into TF2 for a moment and ask, what is Mann Manor? Mann Manor is a 3CP slash control point map. It has, well, 3 control points, point A, point B, and point C. All are well within good distance of each other, and overall, none of them feel too terribly bad to capture. All of them feel like a generally good area to fight in, but this is where I will actually give the map its only real bit of criticism that I have for it, and it starts with A. I personally believe this map's capture times take too long. For a game as fast-paced as TF2, a long capture time such as this can honestly be a major deciding factor for a match. Red could easily get you in the middle of capping these points, stomp you down, and then take back. And some might argue that that is good, because the point is supposed to be back and forth, but I think a more middle ground capture speed is good, because if you push in, and you manage to get past Red's defenses, you really shouldn't be punished by slow capture speed, but it's a major deciding factor though for the match, and if a team can cap and push forward. And sometimes I feel like the caps in these maps can just drone on for a bit too long, while I feel like other maps, i.e. Dust Bowl, go way too fast. Dust Bowl you can capture in under 5 seconds, like blink and blue wins. But Dust Bowl has 1,000 other issues that we're not going to get into right now. The other major issue that I have with Mann Manor is the last capture point. This point sits exactly right on the lap of Red Team. Now, I do know that a lot of maps have the last cap by the spawn of Red, but again, with the cap times of Mann Manor, I do wish that maybe the spawn and the cap were a bit more separated than they are in the normal game mode. It is incredibly easy for 6 engineers to camp in the room and just turtle in their nests while the rest of the team protect them and go off to pick off the other blue team members coming in to try and get your engineers, usually soldiers, demos, and their medics that are, attached to them. But besides the bigger issues, I still do believe this is all in all a very, very solid map for Team Fortress 2. This map, in my opinion, has stood the test of time in many ways as the years of TF2 have drone on and on. Many new Halloween maps have come and gone, and many I think are great and or just downright amazing, but I always find myself wanting to come back to the classics, even if just for a little bit. This map is from 2010. That was made probably in some 15-year-old spare time because their favorite game is hosting a contest, and has held a lock on my heart since I started playing Team Fortress 2. Arguably, it wasn't from the time I even started, but there's just something I can't shake about it. I think one of the many things that sells it as well is its simplicity. Getting off track again, especially in the later years of map making for TF2, people have always tried to be bigger and better, and that's of course natural, either community made or Valve made. Maps making was always going to grow and grow and grow, but I find myself looking back at the more simplistic maps of TF2 and getting a little sad at the days gone by. That's why when a new update comes out and we get our new set of maps, I find myself leaning towards the ones that are more simplistic than the ones that are trying to stand out. And before it's mentioned, I'm not really talking about the art style here. I'm not trying to say that, I'm not trying to start the debate of the maps breaking the new maps and the art style, and because I think that whole thing is kind of dumb, or how it was better back in the old days, because that's just stupid, I think. But honestly, I have to admit that a lot of my feelings towards this map are due to nostalgia, but it is just a genuine fondness of the old, simpler made maps as well from back then. The more square, blocky-esque rooms with ramps that just kind of led you all over the place, tight corridors, and it's why maps like Gravel Pit are some of my one of my favorite maps outside of holiday maps. It's such a simple map, and yet I've spent hours playing on it. It's genuinely one of the best maps in the game, though that might be debatable to some. This is more about Mann Manor, and I will say this again, it's not like I don't like new maps either. plenty of great old and newer holiday maps for Halloween have been made. Many great honorable mentions are Harvest, Gorge Event, Gravestone aka Rumble, Bloodwater, Graveyard, Bonesaw, Hell Train, Lava Pit, Dark Marsh, and more. All of them have merit, but sometimes the classics just do it for me the most, and that's okay. It's okay to like the classics and the old, but it's also okay if you like the new. There's nothing wrong with either or. Unless you like Whatsville, then are you alright? Do I gotta send you somewhere? But that's that's just a baby punching bag at this point. Everybody fucking loves to talk about Whoville, and for good reason. But off topic again. And for those wondering, because I know I have not mentioned him yet, the Headless Horselessman exists. He's cool. I like the bosses in TF2 personally. Marasmus can be a bit iffy, but over the years in both Halloween and Christmas, I think some people have gotten creative with the bosses. And I've even seen some players try to do newer type maps where you play, where somebody gets the chance to play as the boss itself, rather than the boss just being an entity that runs around as a nuisance for a little while. It kind of reminds me of when you would do those special events on certain Halloween maps where you would fight a death match, and then whoever team wins, everyone gets a crit boost and stuff. I like that. It's like a race to see which team member will get to be the big bad boss. I think that's fun, but I don't really have a ton to say on the bosses themselves. I love the Horselessman's design, and everything about him is great, and I hope map makers keep the boss designs up for years to come. I hope they get more fun and more creative. So I think that about wraps it up for all the stuff I wanted to talk about with this video. Originally, this script was supposed to go over a large handful of maps and discuss them, but I decided to scale it back and just focus more on one map that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and let me know down below. Would you guys like a more in-depth video like this for Smithmas? Maybe on certain maps or maps? Let me know what maps you would like to hear about. Also, let me know your favorite Scream Fortress maps down below. What maps do you think of when you hear Scream Fortress or Halloween or things like that? What are things that invoke those memories in you? What Scream Fortress were you here for originally? I like hearing about other people's memories and things that they hold dear to them with this game. But overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and just know that even if it seems bad right now, it will eventually get better. Goodbye! Also, I would just like to ask, Valve, why did you release Applejack in the summer updates? This is very, very clearly an autumn map, and this was supposed to be something that could have been released during Scream Fortress. Why did you release Applejack in summer? Please, somebody try to make it make sense. It angers me to this day.